Okay, we're going to have a look at placing some furniture into our design now. Furniture is known as components. In fact, lots of things are components. So the things that we put into the kitchen area, the sinks, toilets, dishwashers, all those things will be known as components. So in the same way that before we used doors and windows up here in the architecture tab, this time I'm going to click on components. If I click on components, I see that the last one I used was a desk. And a desk came in a few different sizes, and I can choose from the drop down menu. But basically there's my desk. You can see it the way it will be positioned. I haven't actually clicked yet to say where it's going. The little dimension thing's working to tell me. So if I click and place one, I can move along. It's going to try and keep them in line. I could do another one. So every time I click, basically it will produce another one for me, and those guidelines will help me to line them up if I choose to. So I've put 6 there. That's enough for now. I'm going to escape out of this. And if I now went into my 3D view to have a look at it, there's my desks all lined up. Now we don't really want to have desks inside the cafe, but we will deal with that in a minute. But just while we're doing that, I want to show you a few things. So if I, in the modify panel selected here, if I drag my mouse over something, I'm going to drag it over this one here, and you can see at the moment nothing's happened. But once I've actually gone all the way over an item, it turns blue. It means it's selected, and that works with multiple selections as well. So if I actually grabbed all of these, nothing's happened to those 3, then they're selected, move up, then they're selected. So I've now selected all 6. So in the same way that I can use Control C and Control V in other programs, I can do it in this one. So I've just done Control V and Control C to copy and Control V to paste. Now I haven't actually pasted yet. You can see from the dotted line, it's trying to tell me where would I like to actually position these. So if I wanted to line them up with the original ones and maybe put them a bit further away, I could go to this position and click, and I can place them in. And again, I'm going to press escape then to get out of it. And if I went back into my 3D view, this time I would see the fact that there's more desks in there. Okay, let's go back to where we were in ground floor. I might decide that I don't want those. I'm going to actually select some. You can see it hasn't selected all of those now. It's only selected the ones that it's fully covered, and hit delete. I will get rid of the rest as well because I don't want those ones, and hit delete again. Now one thing that I didn't do was I didn't rotate them in any way, and there's 2 ways of doing a rotation. So if I actually go back and place a component again, I'm going to choose my desk again, and this time when I've got my desk, it's just asking me what size desk I want. Before I actually click my mouse to place it, if I hit my space bar, each time I hit the space bar, it rotates it around 90 degrees. So depending upon how I want it to look, so this one will actually be faced in the opposite direction. Because it's a desk, it'll look slightly differently. So I'm going to click there and click here, and I'm going to do the same thing, click over here. And so I'm not been doing this, with any kind of accuracy. I'm just chucking them in to see what they look like. But now, if I choose this, you can see that the desks are opposite ways round. So this is the front of the desk, that's the back of the desk. So I've rotated them round. Let's go back into my ground floor view again. Now, if I wanted to have them positioned slightly differently, I could then select the object, and I could go for this rotate option in modify. And the way that works is once I click it, it produces this line. Now that's doing nothing at the moment until I actually select it. So the first click locks that. The second click allows me to rotate it, and I get to the position where I want it. So if I want it on an angle like that, I hit again, and that's it positioned. And once I've done that, I can escape out of it, and that's that thing fixed in that position. And obviously now if I come into that and I Control C to copy and Control V to paste, it will give me that same angle, but it's asking me where I want to put it. So if I wanted to put one up over here, I click and it's on the same angle exactly as this one is now. So we've got lots of options of what we can do with placing the furniture. However, the actual furniture itself is very limited in the first instance. So what I can do, if I go back into, I'm going to escape out of here again, back into my normal screen. I go to component again. This time, as I did before, I'm going to go for load family. If I go for load family, it opens up this same window with all these different folders in, and in here there's one called furniture. Now these are the ones that come as standard with Revit, but there's some extra ones I've added. So this one here, Rust downloaded, these are ones that I've downloaded and put in here myself. They don't have to be in this folder, they could be anywhere on my computer. I put them in here simply to make things easier when I did demos and so that I've got everything in one place. But if I go into the ones I've downloaded, I'm opening them up, and at the moment on the right where it says preview, if I actually click through, I can see what these things look like. These are all ones I've downloaded from different websites. I'm going to go for maybe this sofa one, and I'm going to say open. Now ignore this message, it might say it's going to use it once or whatever, but it's basically bringing it in. I can see over here on the side what it looks like, and if I position it now in the same way that I did before, I can place my sofas in, press escape when I've finished, and I'm going to go and have a look at my 3D view of them. Move my view around. I must have accidentally deleted one of these sofas. Even in 3D view I can move them about. They're not rendered at the moment. These things will be rendered when I change some settings down the bottom here later. We're not doing that at the moment. This is just giving us an idea of what these things look like. But these families, as they're called, have been designed by people. So on the internet there's lots of places where we can find components of our own and bring them in. Somebody has gone and actually designed this in Revit and saved it as a Revit family piece. We're not going to be designing our own furniture at this stage, but we can go on the internet and we can find them. I'm going to show you that in a moment now. So this is one website that I looked in earlier. This one is basically I did a search for Revit furniture, and this was one of the ones that popped up. On the graphics portal there will be a whole bunch of links that you can click on to go to different places where you can get them. But for instance in here I could choose a category search for say chair. It'll come up with a bunch of chairs, and you can see next to these chairs they're real manufacturers, they're real chairs. These companies have paid to have their chairs put into these designs. If I wanted any of them I can simply download them. So I'm going to download this one here now. It needs to be saved somewhere, so I'm going to actually, just for the time being, I'm going to put it onto my desktop, and I'm just going to call it multi-purpose chair. Don't need the big, in fact I'm not even going to call it that. I'm going to call it an what it is there, an Alamure chair. Doesn't really matter what I call it as long as I remember where it is, and I'm going to save it. Now you can see that's saved almost instantly. What I need to do now is I need to unzip it. So here's that downloaded one. I've just put it into a folder just so we can see it more easily on the screen. I can unzip that by going in and saying extract. Basically this is just a compressed file, and we can forget about everything apart from this one. This one that says Autodesk Revit, recognize it as a family file. Again, I can rename that if I want to. I'm just going to call that one what I called it before. Now I could leave the model number on and all that if I wanted to, but just for the sake of finding it more easily afterwards, I'm going to do that with it. I'm going to flick back to my my Revit work. There's my Revit. I'll go back into the ground floor view, and now I'm going to try and bring one of those in. In fact, I might clear these other things out of the way so that we can see what we're doing a bit more clearly. Let's get rid of those ones, and I'm going to bring in my new component. So I'm going to add a component. I'm going to load my family. This time I don't want to look in the folder it's given me. I actually put it onto the desktop, and I put it into a folder called downloaded furniture. There it is, Alamure chair. There's the preview of it. I'm going to say open. Tells me it's a one time only, but I can basically use it over and over, and here it is. So again, if I place my seats in here now, I'm going to randomly place them. Doesn't matter how many I choose. There they are. I'm going to escape out of that, go into my 3D view, and there's my chairs. And as I said earlier, even within my 3D view, if I want to move these things around, I can. Okay, the other thing I mentioned earlier was actually seeing this looking more realistic. So down the bottom here, I've got a bunch of different things that I can change. Some of them are to do with showing sunlight and shadows and stuff. But the one that I want to look at first of all is this one here that looks like a little rectangle. If I choose that, at the moment we're set up for hidden line. Now wireframe is lines only, but we could go for this one here called shaded. Watch what happens. Okay, suddenly the chairs are shaded in, the walls are shaded in, and so on. They're all just default colours and shapes at the moment, so the doors and things are whatever the manufacturer said they were as a basic one. but later on we'll be able to change things like the wall colours and so on. I think probably the furniture's set as the manufacturer intended. Just to recap, what we did there was we basically brought in components, and the component libraries we added to by bringing in families, and we did that by basically choosing from our component and choosing from a load family, and we got them from different places. This is the one that comes with it, and I also downloaded some, and we placed them, and we've seen that once we place them we can rotate them, we can move them. Spacebar will shift the position of them before we actually set them in place, so we can have them wherever we want. We can basically use copy and paste to create more of them, and we can rotate them. And afterwards, when we go into 3D, if we want to make them look more realistic, we can basically add the shading technique by altering this dimension down here. Okay, good luck with all of that.